All right, we're recording. This is Administrative Law Judge Alice DeLao. Since you can't see me, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear that that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? That you understand that false statements could be prosecuted for perjury? Do you understand that statement, and do you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, then you can put your hand down. Please spell your name and state your name and spell it for the record, please.
Lucas Weber, Lucasweber.
Is it just one B?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. All right, so go ahead, Mr. Cross. He's going to do his direct.
All right, Mr. Weber, you were employed by the Department of Corrections?
Yes.
Okay, you're still employed by the Department of Corrections?
Yes.
Okay. You were, did you work, or do you know Sue Novak?
Yes.
How do you know Sue Novak?
We work together.
Okay, what was your position when you, was she the warden at that time or something else?
That's correct.
What was your position?
Deputy warden.
Okay. And are you aware of an escape at all in 2020?
Yes.
Okay. And at that time, you were the deputy warden, right?
Correct.
Okay. Were you disciplined or I guess in regards to that escape at any time?
So I guess I do have a question about this. For part of basically for the state attorney, part of my settlement was confidentiality. Is that waived in this case?
You're muted, Mr.
I don't
Boba.
know that I have the authority to waive that, quite frankly. And I think this is part of the issue that we should, this is part of the issue that we're running in as far as not serving subpoenas properly on DOC employees. I really don't know the answer to that.
Well, generally, in a good, well-written settlement agreement, there should have been a provision that would made an exception for the complainant to be compelled by law to discuss the settlement terms. And so I believe that the complainant should have to testify about those because you should, you're testifying here today. So as far as I'm concerned, you have to testify.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just making sure.
Go ahead.
So yes, the question was I disciplined? Yes, I was.
Okay. Great. And are you able to tell me what the work rule violations were?
So I don't have my stuff specifically in front of me, but they were deemed to be serious enough that I was terminated.
Okay. Well, are you aware of whether or not Columbia CCI had a fence, a stun fence at any time?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Are you aware of whether or not CCI had a stun fence at any time?
Yes.
Okay. And was the work rule violations in regard to this fence?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. And are you aware of, prior to the escape, whether or not there was any knowledge by any DOC employees of a potential problem with the kitchen staff employee?
Yes.
Okay. How did you come to have that knowledge?
I believe there was a conversation, a phone call that included myself, Warden Novak, and the security director, and possibly some security supervisors once the information had been brought forward about the staff person.
Okay. And that this is communications within the institution, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. At any time, did you have any knowledge of whether or not there was any communication about this staff worker issue with anybody outside of the institution?
I do believe that Warden Novak shared this information with DAI staff in Madison.
Okay. How do you know that?
I believe that was part that her and I discussed that.
Okay. And what, if any, do you know what was communicated to DAI staff?
I was not present during the phone call to DAI staff.
Okay. And do you know who the phone call was with?
I believe it would have been with Mr. Percy.
That's Doug Percy?
Yes.
Why do you believe that?
He would have been the assistant DAI administrator that was covering Columbia Correctional at that time, and Warden Novak's notification, or I guess supervisor, or the person that she would have contacted, likely downtown.
Okay. And did you have any, sorry, when you were disciplined, was your discipline related to this knowledge about the kitchen worker prior to the escape?
I don't think that was mentioned.
Okay. Are you able to answer my question, though?
I thought I would. I guess I thought I did. I don't. Like I said, I don't have my actual document, so I don't believe that was listed as part of the reason I was disciplined.
Okay, because what I asked is, was it related to, and what I heard was they didn't put that word on that piece of paper. Did I miss that?
I guess maybe I don't understand the question then.
Okay. At any time, prior to your discipline, you were investigated, right?
Correct.
Okay. Anytime during that investigation, did anybody bring up the issue with the kitchen worker?
Yes.
Okay. Who raised that issue?
It would have been the investigators from Internal Affairs.
Okay. Was one of those investigators Joe Sonnenberg?
Yes.
Okay. And what about the same question, except for the fence? Did anybody ask you about the fence during the investigation?
I don't recall if they did or not.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge of the stun fence, the condition of the stun fence during the time of the escape?
Yes.
Okay, what was that knowledge?
I guess that it was, I guess at the time of the escape, was it working? I guess I don't understand the question.
That's okay. That would be an answer. So you were aware that at the time of the escape, the stun fence was not working. Is that right?
No, sir, that's not what I said.
Good. So why don't you explain it to me then?
So I guess I am aware that since I worked at Columbia, that I noticed that the fence may be on the wrong. It wasn't the same as, for example, with Racine Correctional, where I came from when I started there as a security director.
Okay. And how is it different?
the fence at Racine Correctional, where I had been employed previous to Columbia Correctional, was on the inside of the concertina wire fence.
Okay. And it was otherwise at Columbia or what?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know if the situation at Columbia has been changed at any time since the escape?
I'm not aware if it has been changed or not.
Okay. Now, at any time, did anybody come and tell you about their concerns with the fence?
I don't recall that, no.
Okay. And you're currently employed by the Department of Corrections, right?
Correct.
Okay. What position do you hold now?
Corrections Program Supervisor.
Did you talk to anybody about your testimony here today?
Yes.
Who did you talk to?
The attorney, is it
Mullenbach.
We did Mellenbach, Eric? Yeah.
Yes. And at this point in time, I would just say that any further questions regarding this is privileged.
Okay. So, did you read any documents in connection with your testimony here today?
I'm sorry, did I immediately what?
Did you read any documents in connection with your testimony here today?
No, just emails.
Just emails. Okay, you reviewed emails. When did you review emails in conjunction for your testimony here today?
I didn't review, I guess to be clear, I didn't review any emails in conjunction with my testimony as far as it was just notifications that it may be coming up.
Okay. Got it. So, did anybody tell you how to anything to say here today?
Yes.
Okay. Did anybody tell you anything that you couldn't say here today?
No.
Okay. And during the time of the escape, who was the security director at Columbia?
Oh my gosh.
It's Brian Gusky, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry. Yes, Brian Gusky. I apologize.
Okay. And he told you that about the condition of the fence, didn't he?
I do not remember a conversation.
You don't remember that? Okay. How about, do you remember any issue with balloons of marijuana being found prior to the escape?
Are you thinking?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to go back here.
In your mind?
Yes.
You're not
Right.
looking at
You're
any
not looking at
papers.
any emails, right?
No, sir. I'm not. I'm just trying to recollect that it's due to the time that has passed since these incidents occurred.
Okay.
I don't remember specifically talking about that.
Okay. Do you remember generally talking about that?
No.
Okay. Now, what discipline did you receive after the escape?
I was terminated from my employment with the Department of Corrections.
Okay. How did you come to be reemployed with the Department of Corrections?
I hired an attorney and appealed there's processes that are followed or that you need to follow if in that situation. So I retained an attorney and filed appeals, several steps of appeals.
Okay, and did you file a grievance? Is that what you mean by an appeal?
I guess I'm not aware if that's the same thing or not.
Okay. I understand. But you contested the termination beyond the termination itself. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And then ultimately, you reached a settlement with the Department of Corrections in which they rehired you. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. But then they also required you to be confidential about the facts of the escape.
No, I believe is the confidentiality comes into the settlement agreement.
Okay. And are you aware of anybody else being disciplined regarding the escape?
Yes.
Who else are you aware of being disciplined?
Brian Gusky and Jason Thompson. Other officers, I think, were as well, but I can't recall the names right now.
Okay. And as deputy warden, are you considered an officer?
No, I meant like officers like as in blue shirts.
Okay. But you're covered by the civil service protections?
I'm not 100% on that. I don't know for sure about that.
Okay. Now, what happens when you were disciplined? Were you put on leave at any time?
Yes.
Okay. And then were you investigated by Internal Affairs?
Yes.
Okay. How were you investigated by Internal Affairs?
So they would give me notice of an investigation and what that was gonna, the date, time, and they would, ask me questions. The process that's outlined in DOC discipline.
Okay. And do you know who ultimately terminated your employment from the department?
I know who called and told me.
Who was that?
Stephanie Hovey.
Okay. And did you ever receive a letter from a letter informing you that you had been terminated?
Yes.
Who was that signed by?
Again, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't know who signed the letter.
Because you don't recall?
Correct.
Okay. And do you recall why you were terminated at that time?
Serious misconduct.
Is that one policy violation or something else?
Yes, I believe it was because it put the public in danger. My actions or inactions.
Okay. Now, were you present? Let's put it this way: when the escape happened, there are policies and procedures of what a warden, a deputy warden are required to do, right?
There are escape procedures.
Okay. And were you aware of what those escape procedures were prior to the escape?
I was aware that they existed, yes.
Okay. And did you follow those procedures during the escape?
So you follow, there's a policy that's outlined in, as you said, an escape procedure, and that's what was followed.
Okay. And do you believe that you followed those procedures?
I believe that there was multiple people involved that did their best to follow the procedures.
Okay. What does that mean?
I mean that our intention when we became aware of the escape was to, anything that was missed was certainly not intentional if it was.
Okay. And did you explain that to Internal Affairs anytime?
Again, I don't remember specific questions about that due to the time frame, but I guess I don't recall talking about that specifically.
Okay. And did you discuss your the conversations with Doug Percy at any time with Internal Affairs?
No.
Okay. Did you give a reason why you should not be terminated?
Yes.
What was that reason?
Again, I don't remember it verbatim, certainly, but it had to do with if post orders would have been followed as they were written on the unit, that would have likely prevented the escape from happening on the night that it did, or the morning that it did.
Okay, because there were other issues besides just the kitchen worker and the stun fence that led to the escape, right?
Yes, there was stuff listed in my, that was brought up during the investigation, yep.
Right. In fact, the inmates tried to surrender, but nobody actually saw them. Nobody accepted their surrender, right?
I'm not aware of that happening, no.
Okay. Are you aware of any time when the DOC employees could have apprehended the employees prior to them leaving the institution but failed to do so?
I'm sorry, sir, what was the last part?
That they could have apprehended the inmates before they left the institution but failed to do so.
So prior to me being placed on administrative leave, I was able or did review the video of the escape, and the patrol vehicle is present on the video when the inmates were on the fence or at the fence.
Okay. And was that listed as a reason why you were terminated?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. So, and I just want to be clear, the reason that the Department of Corrections told you that they terminated you was because of endangering the public safety?
I'm going to object. The letter that told him about his termination speaks for itself.
Keep that in mind.
He just wanted to reiterate, he already said that, so I don't see why let's move on. He said
sure.
he could
Okay,
remember the letter.
Right. But so then, sorry.